Round 2, fight.
I mean, what's up, YouTube? If you guys have seen the previous video to this one, then you know that we've got an injector down in my truck. So I got a hold of Taylor Diesel Group, and they sent me some new Bosch reman injectors and a set of feed tubes. What we're gonna do is go ahead and change these injectors. And while we're in here, I wanna go ahead and run through the valves and make sure they're all set where they're supposed to be. So yeah, buckle up, here we go. Get out of my life, rags. If anybody's curious, got the battery cables disconnected. Apparently just close enough that if they wanted to, you know, reunite, they could. I'm gonna go ahead and start by pulling off this intake horn. Oh, stuff I've never had to take off before. Get this thing out of the way because I can't pull my injectors or my feed tubes without it. Alrighty. That took a little bit of finagling because I had to figure out that there's two plug-ins up here that are connected to this. And really, if I can keep from disconnecting too much stuff, I'd like to just turn this thing out of the way. I don't know if I can, but I'm hopeful that I can just roll it out of the way. Why they gotta tie everything together? There you go, just lay down in there. Maybe that'll keep me from getting a bunch of stuff in it as well. I don't know, it's probably still gonna be in my way, but it's better than unbolting that thing off the side of it with a bunch of wires in there. There we go. I am gonna have to pick up 2 gaskets for this. I did not get them. There's your little grid block heater. If any of you guys have never seen it, now you've seen it. All right, with that out of the way, I'm gonna get me a super clean rag. I'm gonna stuff it in. Wow, that's a bigger space than I had expected. I need more super cleans. And I'm gonna wad the 2 together over the outside of that one so that I don't accidentally leave one in there and think that I pulled that one out. I'm gonna take my 8mm and I'm gonna loosen all of these up, and then I'll be able to remove this gasket. This gasket has the wiring harness inside of it. So when I pull that off of there, all that'll come as one. And whenever I take these off, I think what I'm gonna do, I took me a picture, but I'm just gonna spread these out in such a way, or well, maybe the holders will just keep them in place, but that way I know where they go. But I did take myself a little picture and video beforehand so that I know right where to put them back. Because you don't want them sucking fuel out of your engine, right? I don't think that would happen. That's just not how it works, Rem. I might need to call Mike Rowe. This is a dirty job. Come on now. Come on. This might be a good point to show you guys where, when I tested on the other video, this one does nothing. The rest of these are all good, so that was how I determined that this one was the bad one. Not to mention the computer test that my buddy did when he hooked up to it. So I'm gonna break all of these loose. So I'll have to do the other side as well. Get all these fuel lines out of the way, and then we can start taking my other stuff apart. So I got most of these lines removed, but I want to show you guys back here, they've kind of got this catch-22 set up. I don't know if you guys can see it well enough. I got all the light I can get in here, but you need to remove that line that goes around to the last injector, and I want to remove that plate as well. So you need to remove that plate so that you can get back there and remove the line. But you got to remove the line because it's on top of the plate. This is kind of a catch-22. Now I could loosen that little rubber deal, but I'm going to be stubborn and fight it anyways. As you can see, I've already got a wrench I'm trying to put in there. Alright, you guys. Now, this right here is proof that if you are persistent enough and ignorant enough to just keep on trying the hard way, it's not insanity. You will possibly maybe get it. Because I got it. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Loved it. Also, I'm lining all my parts up as they come out of the truck onto the bench. So, time to start filling this area. Took that little lift point bracket off of there so I can get in there and do everything that I need to do now. I guess it's time to start pulling rocker assemblies, and I'll pull each one in order and move them over to the table. Nice and tight. Never have I ever. That's the game I'm playing right now. Don't fall apart on me. Whatever that was. It's a bridge. Guess it would do me pretty solid to just put those just exactly the way they came off as well. And just like that, we've got all of our rocker assemblies out. This is where you're going to want your sweet snap-on board or whatever to hold that up, because it's fantastic. They're only about $1,200, and the only real issue with them is, you know, you kind of got to place an order and wait for them because they're a hot item. Got them over here on the table, keeping them all lined up, and there is a little nipple on these right here. I said it, and I'm sorry. I've seen people say, oh, you can turn them all the same way or whatever. I'm just going to put them back exactly the way that they came out. See, these are both backwards. This one's the same. That one's one forward, one's backwards. I just want them to be as close as possible, so I apologize for saying nipple. I done gone and let you down. Okay, now I've seen it done multiple ways, and I'm trying to decide, do I want to pull this off or not? I think I can just take those two bolts out and pop these out. Of course, before I can do that, I got to pull the feed tubes out of it, so let's get those. Hopefully that's going to be a lot easier than it was digging back there with an open-end wrench. So I grab my 15/16. I can tell you right now I've run into an issue because I don't have an adapter for when these go back together, and I'm going to have to go buy me another 15/16 because this one is not going to fit on my torque wrench. Pulling off the tube retainer nut or whatever you call it. There's probably a fancy name for it, but I don't know what it is. It retains the tube, all right? I want to talk to you guys on a serious note. Are you ready? The very back one back there. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's a plate on the back, and it causes you to not be able to get your wrench in where you want it. I tried 3 or 4 different types of wrenches, box end wrenches, everything. Nothing would get in there because of all the crappity crud that they have over here. So I forced an Allen wrench to fit in here, and it was able to make it because that plate was here and you couldn't have a wrench. It's ridiculous. Now, honestly, if I had a 3/8 drive in 15/16, it would be just fine. So some of you guys aren't going to care one bit, but I didn't for some reason. I don't know where mine's at. Now we'll just run through here and pull out our feed tubes, which, you know, they look fine, but they say to replace them, so that's what we're going to do. Since I know that I'm not going to reuse these tubes, I'm just popping them out with an old kid or cat paw right there. It'll go real easy. Maybe I can get this one right here and show you. Of course, I'm trying to do it one-handed. Just like that. Pops right out. You probably want to use the old put a nut on the top of it and pop it out safely if you think you're going to reuse them for some reason. With all our feed tubes out, we can pop these injectors out of here. 8mm on either side. Weird. Oh, yeah, of course this one side's already loose because that's just how it works. There it goes. Gently now. Come here, injector. Oh, this one's the one that's junk. Alright, I'm back in the shop. I changed my clothes. Not because I was dirty, but because I was in here till like 9 o'clock last night trying to make things work with tools, needing different tools. And I've figured out that apparently a 15/16 and a 3/8 drive is just somewhat non-existent. I'm sure it exists. I'm sure people have it. But it's not something you're just going to find on the shelf because I went around and tried to buy one and they don't have them. So I bought some adapters. Yeah, let's just put it back together. This is the mess we're working with. All the fun stuff laid here. That's the one that's dead. This is what the ends look like on each one of these. They are pretty crusty. That one's real crusty. Yeah, we'll see what the new ones look like. Feed hole to the feed tube side like that. Injectors going back in. Make sure where they seat's nice and clean. In it goes. Harder to push than I thought. Well, they were hard to get out, so that makes sense. Alright, all the injectors are in. Facing that direction. Let's put some tubes in it. Whee! Alright, I got this set to 44 inch-pounds. This set here. I got this guard in the way. Just doing a quarter turn. Start here on this one since this guard's in the way. That's 44 inch-pounds right there. Nice. Clean my feed tube retainers up. Go ahead and screw those on. 11 foot-pounds on these. If I can get the wrench on it. Now back to the injectors. 89 inch-pounds. Throwing the bridges back in. You know, some of these got this little nipple on them. Nipple. In the bottom of them is like visibly different. The nipple side is actually a little bit bigger. But I'm putting these back exactly the way they came from factory. I'm wanting to do a valve adjustment too. This would be the time. Tiny finger places. Top them off with 27 foot-pounds. Alright, I don't know how well you guys can see this. Try to get you set up where you can. I am replacing fuel lines. I spared you guys listening to me acting like a child while doing the one in the back. Oh. Things were said. Nothing was thrown, but boy, I wanted to. Not gonna lie, it got so bad, I stopped and I prayed about it. Like, this was a tough one. Just imagine it, right? Close your eyes and imagine I'm leaning over the front, feet sticking straight out because there's nothing to put them on, laying on my belly on the hood latch, reaching back here for like 10 minutes and trying to fight that one behind the plate. There's an easier way to do that. I'm sure of it. I should have probably taken the little grommet off the isolator, but I didn't do it. You know what you call a deer with no eyes? No idea. Snug. All of our lines are in now, which you can't see because I got stuff in the way. The stuff I should have removed, right? Well, it's another day. The last bit of that you just seen was probably 10:30 or so last night. Now we are adjusting the valves. I've already done half of them because I wanted to get the really hard ones where my arms are in the way, out of the way. And so all the ones in the back or whatever are now done. And we're going to do a couple here in the front just so you can see them. These are my measurements. So if you don't know what you're looking at, you know, you can go find all this stuff on the internet and whatnot. But I'm marking each one as I do it so I know that it's complete. And I'm working my way through exhaust and then I'll do intake. But I'm just going to show you guys me doing it. I'm not going to try to explain the process because, you know, I'm doing mine just a little bit different. Everybody says, you know, 10 thousandths and 20 thousandths. You know, 10 on your intake and 20 on your exhaust. But I've been doing 8 and 18. So, which it's within the range, the spectrum that you can have. I'm doing mine just a smidge tighter, just because I want to. I feel like it's going to be just a little bit better. From what I hear, it's supposed to fire up just a little bit quicker, you know, so on and so forth. But I know in trying to do valves on motocross bikes, which I've got some videos on that, if you need that information, I do explain it quite well in that. But I know I want to be kind of the furthest away from the next adjustment that I can be within the tolerable range. So that's another reason why I went with just a little bit tighter. The way that I was instructed to do it is first, you know, I get my feeler gauge in there where I want it, and then I run it down snug, all the way snug. And the reason for that is so that it'll push any extra oil out of the cup or out of here so that I'm not getting a, you know, false reading of any sort. So yeah, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing right there. I'll back it off a little bit, get it to where I want it. And I get it just a smidge tight. Because after I tighten up this lock nut, it's going to loosen it just ever so slightly. I'm really surprised at how fine the adjustment is on this. I mean, I realize it needs to be. I just didn't necessarily realize it was going to be, I mean, just a hair, and you're you go from where you want it to be to where you don't want to be. So I think we're good right there. Ooh. It's a little loose. That's where I want it, right there. And then I'm setting torque on it. Checking it again to make sure that it didn't change or tighten. We're good to go. All right, and with that, the last valve is done. So, yeah, it's time. Time, that is, to put this truck back together and see if she'll run. Just as clean. Let me set this little guy in here. He knows what he's doing. All right. Let's go ahead and start wiring up all these injectors. It's something like 11 inch-pounds or something like that on these. Not exactly sure, but I am just going to snug them by hand. I'm afraid of snapping one of these off and the work it would take to replace it and the money. So I'm just going to snug these to what I think they need to be, judging by my fingers. I've been snugging a long time, you know. I'm a experienced snugger. I'm going to start with 10 foot-pounds. Right there, is that 10? It made a noise. Start with 10 foot-pounds on these, and then I'm going to do 18. Oh, big old fella, ain't it? I don't know if anyone else caught it, but my gasket down here, I didn't see it. I didn't have good light down here. And I thought once I got the bolts in, I was in it, but I wasn't. This about this much of it was hanging out. I don't know if you guys can see real well. Put a light on it here. I damaged my gasket. So what I've done for now is I put the old one back in it. Because I've heard of people reusing the old ones. The worst case scenario, it doesn't hold boost pressure, and I have to get a new one. About 18 bucks for the set. Not that big a deal, but I really don't want to drive 10 miles to town to go get one right now, so I'm just going to see how this works for now. Unless I'm mistaken, which I could be, all we got to do now is just hook the injector wires back up, put the battery back on, and we should be ready to give it a test. Ooh, talk about a good call on that rag. That would have all been inside. Grody Jody. Almost forgot my snap-on board. Nice one, ain't it? Well, it's still got 165,000 miles on it. I'm gonna cycle the key a few times, make sure we don't have any leaks of any sort. That is absolutely the quietest I have ever heard this truck. I mean, the engine is so quiet. It's usually clack, 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 clack. It is so quiet right now. Well guys, other than the big old beefy clutch in there making a little bit of noise, this thing is almost silent. It doesn't even sound like my truck that I've been driving for years. Yeah, appreciate you guys riding along. Tractor stuff should be coming pretty soon, I hope. And I guess that's just the end of it. Thanks for watching, and God bless. Check you later.